Alright, so we were talking about that Hendrix chord, that 7#9 chord, and it's mostly substituted for the regular 7 chord or a blues chord, and it mixes, you know, dark minor pentatonic sounds added kind of to a regular 7 chord, so it's a bit darker. What I want to do now is get a little bit lighter, and we're going to talk about the Hendrix major chord, and that's just what I call it. But once again, that first Hendrix chord I taught you had the root on the A string, and now what I call the Hendrix major chord, it's also just a regular major chord inverted. It's an inversion is the term, but I'm going to show it to you. It's based off of this bar chord. So like I said earlier, where you should know your bar chords, this is one of those cases. You're going to want to know your bar chord. So if I took an E major bar chord right here, the root is the 7th fret right there on the A string, as you can see, 7th fret. And then my ring finger is covering the 9th fret of the D, G, and B, and the high E is muted. Okay? What we can do to make it the Hendrix major chord is still think of it this way, still plug it in by the root right there, as far as how to locate the chord and know what chord you're playing and how it's relating to your progression and everything. I'm still looking at that root, but I'm going to play this instead. And here's what I did. Got this chord. This note right here on the B string, the 9th fret on the B string, that's called the major third of E. It's the note that tells the chord if it's major or minor. So it's a very important note in the sequence of notes that make up a chord. Well, what we're going to do is we're still thinking of it as E major, but we're going to take that note, which is a G sharp, and we're going to actually play that as the lowest note of the chord, thus inverting the chord. It's all the same notes, but now we're not playing the root in the bass or as the low note, but we're playing the major third as the low note. And that G sharp is right here. And you can hear it's the same note, an octave lower. Same note on the 11th fret of the A string. The rest of this E major chord stays the same. But we can't do it like that, and we don't need this anymore. So we're going to take that and put it where our ring finger originally was in that major chord. Now we just need that G sharp in the bass, which is right here on the 11th fret of the A string. So watch. That is an inverted E major chord. And the best way to find it is by still knowing where that root is. And I'm even looking at my index finger covering this and seeing that it's that same part of this chord. Okay? So if I just quizzed you, and you can pause it if you want, and I said, okay, if that's E major inverted, I'm also going to just call that the E Hendrix major chord. And that's just my own term. And I said, okay, well, if that's the E Hendrix major chord, where's the D Hendrix major chord? Well, it's bass with the root off the A string, so where's D on the A string? 5th fret right there. So the regular bar chord of D major looks like this. But we want to play that note in the bass, which is right here, on the 9th fret of the A string. So that means that the D Hendrix major chord is right here. So the C Hendrix major chord, the C root on the A strings right there on the 3rd fret. That's the regular C major chord. So the inversion would look like this. Still a C major chord. But now it has a new quality. By putting that 3rd in the bass, it's a little more unusual, but there's also a lot of really tasty stuff we can do with it. The last thing before I go on to more advanced tricks with this chord is to just show you kind of the Hendrix way, and it's, you know, he didn't invent it, but it's definitely one of his characteristics, is when you're playing that chord, let's go back to E major. When you're playing that chord in that Hendrix major, we want to hammer on that major 3rd. So that means we have to bar the A string below it to get that hammer-on sound. I also let the tip of my index finger mute the E string. Now with E major, we can get it in there, and we like that a lot. Also, you know, why so many of these kinds of songs are in the key of E or in the key of A is you've got the low open strings on the guitar, which are really convenient. But in other instances where we can't use the open E, like for a C major inversion, or a D major, pretty much any of the other ones, that I'm letting my index finger mute that top string. So you're going to want to quiz yourself a little bit and just make sure you get comfortable with playing these inversions. So real quick, I'm going to take a really standard, easy progression, but we're going to play this new chord to see what we can do with it. I'm going to take C to G. So now we want to play the C major inverted, or the Hendrix major chord, to the G Hendrix major chord. Well, let's do that. The C chord's right here. The inversion would be right here. You know? Plus with that hammer on. So that means to play the C major Hendrix chord, we're barring the 5th fret from the A string across and hammering with our ring finger onto the 7th fret of the A string as we strum the chord. Okay, so instead of this, we're just choosing, because of the way it sounds, it's a different sound, more unusual, more exotic sound, we're going to play it right here. Like that. And then for the G major, we want to find the the Hendrix major chord for this G major. Well, we got to find that G on the A string. So it's the 10th fret. That's the regular major. So it would be up here. So watch. Now what I'm going to do is do first the regular chords, then the Hendrix major, then the regular bar chords, and then mix them together. And you can see how you can actually create parts. Okay? Any of these things can be interchanged with each other or substituted. Okay, regular bar chords. Inverted. Mix them together. I'm adding that bar chord now, just the standard major bar chord.